quiet down, quiet down.
The house.
Attaboy.
We now call the business session of the April 18th, 2023 meeting to order at 6:03 p.m. All council members are present. Welcome to all of our guests and visitors tonight. It's so great to see such a packed house of families and people here. We provide an opportunity for the public to address the City Council on any agenda item or during the hearing of visitors portion of the agenda. On items other than public hearings, speakers will be allotted 1 3-minute presentation regardless of the number of agenda items the speaker wishes to address. If you're here to speak and have not filled out a registration card, please see the City Secretary, staff at the registration table outside the auditorium so that staff can contact you if necessary. If you have handouts, please let us know at the beginning of your presentation and staff will distribute those to council. If you're unable to approach the podium due to physical limitations, a microphone is available to be brought to you. Now please join us for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Our first order of business is to consider the minutes of the April 4th, 2023 special meeting and regular City Council meeting. Those minutes were provided to you in your meeting packet. Are there any corrections? If not, they'll stand approved as submitted. And we have 3 proclamations tonight. The first is a special recognition, actually, of our coaches. So I will go down to the podium and we'll get this thing kicked off. What I'm going to do is I'm going to call out some coaches' names. I'm going to have them stand up, if you don't mind, and then we'll have the coaches come up to the stage, and we'll do a little photo op, and then I think what we'll do is try to get a photo up from here and look back with all the kiddos in the room, too, and we'll be able to distribute that to everybody. So, established in 1925, the Texas Amateur Athletic Federation is a nonprofit organization created to promote, organize, and conduct amateur athletics in the state of Texas. Currently, there are 140 member organizations and more than 210,000 individual participants. The City of Waco Parks and Recreation Athletics Department, under the leadership of Athletics Coordinator Cynthia Sims, was honored to host this year's 2023 TAAF Youth State Basketball Tournament in Waco on March 18th and 19th. Games were played at the Dewey and South Waco Community Centers, as well as at the University and Waco High Schools. A total of 53 teams made up of boys and girls aging 7 to 14 participated in the tournament. 8 Waco teams earned championship wins. 3 finished second and 4 were semifinals. We want to recognize the team and coaches that earned championship wins at the tournament. So if you'll stand up when I call your name, 7 and under boys, Waco DC Kings, 2033, Coach Tori DeGreat. I must say that right. Stand up, sir. Next, we have 7 and under girls, Waco DC Queens, coaches Jerry Williams and Jerry Neal. We have 9 and under boys, Waco Central Texas Academy, coaches Chris Jose and William Brown. Next we have 9 and under girls, Division III, Waco Lady Panthers, coaches Juliet Jones and Chalandria Williams. I'm sorry I said that wrong. 11 and under boys, Waco Outlaws 2029, coaches Paul Chambers and Earl Chambers. Eleven and under girls, Waco United, coaches Antoine Good and Travis Minette. 13 and under boys, Waco 94 Feet Elite, coaches Jerry Williams and Tori DeGreat. and 1300 girls, Waco DC Queens, Coach Tori DeGreat. Are there any coaches here I missed? Anybody, coaches I missed that won?
Miss him?
Say your name, sir. All right, stand up.
Okay.
There you go. Mr. Hutchison. Congratulations to all the teams, athletes, coaches, and supporters for a great season and representing your community so well. And a big thank you to the hardworking athletics team and everyone who contributed toward the tournament success. As mentioned, Cynthia Sims from our city. Guys, winning championships like this takes hard work. It takes character. And I'm so proud on behalf of the city of Waco for your championships and success. It's so meaningful that you're here in our city. And we're just thankful for you on your team and big supporters. So way to go. So I'm going to have the coaches come up. If all the coaches come up, we're going to do a photo shot with our council. So if council would follow up here, and we're going to do one just looking towards the group, and then we'll wrap around and get one with everybody.
Cynthia Sims. Cynthia Sims, if you'll report to the front. Cynthia Sims.
Kyle, we're going to spin around, and can you come up here and kind of hold it up and take a picture with all the kids in the background there? Try for that.
If all the team players could stand while we take this picture, so if you're on the team, please stand.
All right. Well, hey, you saw it. Ready, guys? Are they ready in the back?
Can you see that?
Yeah, we'll get them. Yep. Players stand up. Ready? Ready, guys? Here we go. 3, 2, 1. 3, 2, 1. 3, 2, 1.
Hold on, Kyle.
Ready? Okay, guys. Here we go, guys. Ready? 3, 2, 1. 3, 2, 1. 3, 2, 1. Good job, guys.
Thanks for improvising there.
Guys, we're going to try to get, we're going to sit around and have our meeting, but the rest of you guys are going to do one big group photo outside. All the players and coaches right outside the city, outside the meeting outside. Thanks, guys. Yeah.
I'm good with that. It doesn't intrude on kind of the airspace. Yeah.
Oh, okay. See, there you go.
But then half
You know what we're gonna do for you? Just like at graduation, we're gonna get you a related card. That's okay, don't have to go, Michelle.
I'll make that.
We're gonna get you a related
You better be quick, Josh.
Guys, we'll let these guys clear out, and then we'll start with the next proclamations. And Josh will do some stand-up now.
I
Go
will.
for it, Josh.
I especially want to give a big shout out to the DC Kings and DC Queens. I was really happy to see them here today.
This is crunch.
Okay, I think we're ready to keep rolling here. Next, we have our a proclamation for our libraries. Before I do that, I just have to pause and thank our library staff who did such an amazing job on spring break on the Libraries on the Go program. So great. Compliments from people from all over the community for the museums, community centers, fire stations, stadiums, and more places that really took the library to the community. I'm so thankful for that creativity. It's so consistent with how you run your operations, is just bringing creativity and new ideas and how to deploy this libraries to our community. My family loves the libraries. They were there earlier today and are there on a every week basis. Either once or twice a week. It's that in the zoo. We got the zoo here too, and that's where my kids are usually at, one of those two places. With that, I'll move and read our proclamation for National Library Week. I, Dylan Meek, by virtue of the authority vested in me as mayor of the city of Waco, do hereby proclaim April 23rd through 29th, 2023 as National Library Week in the city of Waco, and urge all citizens to join the city council, city staff, and me during this week to celebrate and appreciate our library system. Libraries provide the opportunity for everyone to pursue their passions and engage in lifelong learning, allowing them to live their best life. Libraries have long served as a trusted institution for all members of the community. Libraries adapt to the ever-changing needs of their communities, continually expanding their collections, services, and partnerships. Libraries play a critical role in the economic vitality of communities by providing internet and technology access, literary skills, and support for job seekers, small businesses, and entrepreneurs. Libraries are cornerstones of democracy, promoting the free exchange of information and ideas for all. The City of Waco proclaims April 23rd through 29th, 2023 as National Library Week and encourages residents to visit our libraries and explore all that they offer. And with that, Essie, would you come up and like to accept this proclamation and say a few words?
Much. Thank you, Mayor and Council, for all your support of the library. I also like to thank our city manager and the city management team for their support. Without y'all's support, we wouldn't be able to do all the great things that we do. I also want to give a special thank you to our board members who came today and our staff who wanted to show up today to help recognize National Library Week. Thank you all so much.
Board and staff stand up so we can see all who they are.
Can y'all stand up? Thank you.
A lot of great stuff happening tonight. Last but not least is National Arbor Day. And so who is here to, come on down. All right. I, Dylan Meek, by the virtue of the authority vested in me as mayor of the city of Waco, do hereby proclaim April 28, 2023 as National Arbor Day in the city of Waco, and urge all of our citizens to join city council, city staff, and me as we observe National Arbor Day. On April 10, 1872, the first Arbor Day was observed with the planting of more than 1 million trees. Trees enhance the natural beauty of our neighborhoods and cities, as well as purify the air, produce oxygen that we breathe, and provide shelter for their local wildlife. Trees in our city increase property value, enhance economic vitality of business areas, and beautify our community and our source of joy. The city of Waco recently received the recognition of a 2022 Tree City USA by the Arbor Day Foundation, and we urge everyone to celebrate Arbor Day and support our efforts to protect our trees and woodlands, as well as encourage everyone to plant a tree. In testimony whereof, witness my hand and the seal of the city of Waco this 18th day of April 2023.
I just want to say, yeah, trees are very important, as he just listed. So far this year alone, we planted 25 trees. We're planting 5 more for Earth Day this week and 5 more for Arbor Day next week. So we plan on continuously planting trees. We're losing some trees from the drought and and the freeze, so we're trying to replenish the urban forests. Thanks.
Back. A lot of good things to celebrate. Okay, the next item to consider is public hearing 2023-271.
Honorable Mayor, members of the council, this is a public hearing to consider a resolution approving the following subdivision plats. Final plat of construction plans for the Lake Waco Business Park Addition, ETJ, and preliminary plat of the Cameron Park Pocket neighborhood. By a vote of 10-0 and 7-0, Plan Commission recommended approval of both plats.
All right. I have one card for this one. Excuse me, are there any questions for staff?
No.
If not, we'll open a public hearing for comments, and I have one card, and that is Kayla Williams. Right here. Okay. Is there anyone else here to speak on this item? If not, we'll close the public hearing, and I'll ask for a motion.
Move for approval?
Motion is second. Any discussion? Please poll the council.
Yes.
Rodriguez?
Aye.
Porter?
Yes.
Warner? Holmes? Meek?
Yes. Motion carries. We'll move to public hearing 2023-272.
Mayor, before we start this hearing, 272 through 275 are all special permits with the same findings. I'd like to read those in the records and then go through each one individually. So the recommendation for approval based on the following findings. 1, the proposed use is consistent with the comprehensive plan and purpose and intent of Chapter 28 zoning of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Waco. 2, that the proposed use is compatible with the appropriate and orderly development of the area which is located. 3, the proposed use will not be more objectionable to neighboring properties because of traffic congestion, noise, fumes, vibrations, or any other characteristics than any use permitted in the zoning district without the granted special exception. And 4, that available community facilities and services included the road system providing access to proposed use are adequate for the proposed use. And these findings are based on section 28-122 of the zoning ordinance. So for case 272, Mayor, this is a public hearing to consider a resolution granting an amendment to the special permit to Polyglass USA, Inc. For production processing of products of non-hazardous nature, which is not a permitted use, and which will not be injurious or offensive to occupants or adjacent premises in M2 zoning district. On property described as Lot 1, Block 12 of the Texas Central Edition, known as 1701 Exchange Parkway. By a vote of 10-0, Plan Commission recommended approval of the request based on the findings required for granting a special permit per section 28-122.
Are there any questions for staff? We'll open up a public hearing for comments. Is there anyone here to speak on this item? I'll close the public hearing and ask for a motion.
Move for approval? Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Please poll the council.
Fairfield? Rodriguez? Waterroot?
Yes.
Horner? Holmes? Meek?
Yes. That motion carries. We'll move to public hearing 2023-273.
Members of the council, this is a public hearing to consider a resolution granting a special permit to Black Hole Properties LLC, doing business as Kids Are Kids of China Spring for a child care facility in R3B district on property described as Lot 2, Block A, of the proposed China Spring addition, the minor plat. Such a lot containing 2.21 acres, more or less, out of the 3.88 acre tract of James Lane Survey, abstract number 531, situated in the city of Waco, McLennan County, Texas, being a portion of the called 73.192 acre tract of land conveyed to Swanson Finley Limited by warranty deed with vendor's lien of record and document number 2003-04-2917 of the deed records of McLennan County, Texas, and known as 10033 Parker Springs Drive. By a vote of 10-0, Plan Commission recommended approval based on the findings required for granting a special permit per section 122 of the zoning ordinance.
Are there any questions for staff? We'll open a public hearing for comments. Is there anyone here to speak on this item? If not, I'll close the public hearing and ask for a motion.
Move for approval. Second.
Motion and second. Please poll, any discussion? Please poll the council.
Bearfield,
Yes.
Rodriguez, Bordereau,
Yes.
Horner, Holmes,
Aye.
Meek.
Motion carries. We'll move to public hearing 2023-274.
Honorable Mayor, members of the council, this is a public hearing to consider a resolution granting a special permit to Bosqueville Storage LLC for self-storage warehouse in C2 zoning district on property described as Lot 8, Block 1, the D. Donaldson Addition Number 2, to the city of Waco, McLennan County, Texas, as per plat recorded in instrument number 2022-03-1671 of the official public records of McLennan County, Texas, known as 6925 Steinbeck Bend Drive. By a vote of 10-0, Plan Commission recommended approval based on the findings required for granting a special permit per section 28-122 of the zoning ordinance.
Are there any questions for staff? We'll open a public hearing for comments. Is there anyone here to speak on this item? If not, we'll close the public hearing and I'll ask for a motion.
Move for approval.
Second.
Any discussion? Please poll the council.
Bearfield,
Yes.
Rodriguez,
Aye.
Bordereau,
Yes.
Horner, Holmes, Meek.
Yes, that motion carries. We'll move to public hearing 2023-275.
Honorable Mayor, members of the council, this is a public hearing to consider a resolution granting a special permit to Cassandra Nunley for short-term rental type 1 in R1B zoning district on property described as approximately 1 acre, tract out of approximately 77.357 acres, being all of the 128.38 acres out of the John Tucker survey in McLennan County, Texas, being the same property described in a warranty deed dated January 1st, 1996 to the Shannon Family Partnership Limited, recorded in volume 1866, page 657 of the official public records in McLennan County, Texas. It is known as 724 Old Steinbeck Bend Road. By a vote of 10-0, Plan Commission recommended approval of the request based on the findings required for granting a special permit per section 28-122 of the zoning ordinance.
Are there any questions for staff? We'll open up a public hearing for comments. Is there anyone here to speak on this item? If not, I'll close the public hearing and I'll ask for a motion.
Move for approval.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Please poll the council.
Bearfield, Rodriguez, Bordereau,
Yes.
Horner, Holmes, Meek.
Carries and we'll move to public hearing 2023-276.
Honorable Mayor, members of the council, this is a public hearing to consider an ordinance of the city of Waco, Texas, abandoning approximately 0.05 acre portion of alley behind 3820 Chateau Avenue, described as a 0.05 acre parcel of land being out of a 20-foot wide alley in Block 10 of the Avenue Heights addition to the city of Waco, Texas, according to the plat recorded in volume 77, page 182 of the deed records in McLennan County, Texas, finding no duty to maintain, authorizing the city manager to execute quitclaim deed, providing a severability clause, and finding determined at which this meeting the ordinance is passed is open to the public as required by law. By a vote of 8-0, the Plan Commission recommended approval of the abandonment request for 171.58 feet of the 20-foot alley located adjacent to 3817 Austin Avenue, Lot 15, Block 10, Avenue Heights Addition, plus 49.53 feet of only 10 feet of the alley adjacent to 3817 Austin Avenue, excluding the 10-foot alley adjacent to Lot 12, Block 10 at Avenue Heights Addition based on the following findings and condition. One, that public use of the right-of-way is not required for proper flow or traffic or for emergency vehicle access to the area. And two, that utility access for surrounding property is not adversely impacted by the abandonment of this right-of-way. The two conditions are a sewer line easement shall be retained for the whole area of the abandonment, and a 10-foot general utility easement shall be retained for franchise utilities located in the alley. After the Plan Commission and based on further discussions with neighbors and input from the Plan Commission hearing, the applicant requested to reduce the abandonment area and include only 221.07 feet of a 10-foot alley located adjacent to 3820 Chateau Avenue, which is Lot 16, Block 10, Avenue Heights Addition. We have provided an updated exhibit and field notes for the amended abandonment area. Staff does recommend approval of this based on the same findings and conditions that the Plan Commission gave.
Are there any questions for staff?
Are we voting on the last picture that you showed us prior to going into our to our executive session?
Yes, ma'am.
That's okay.
We will open up a public hearing for comments. We always let the proponent go first, and I know Mr. Shelton's here, but I don't have a card. Mr. Shelton, do you want to speak? You can come to the mic.
Thank you very much. I want to thank Clint Peters and everybody at the office over there for all the help they've given me. And it's been quite a journey. It's been 2 years to get here in front of you, having to fulfill any requirements that came up during the course, but we got here. I would like to say that my neighbor, Dr. McCluskey, which is right next door, if you'll look on this map, you'll see where it says Jimmy McCluskey next door. In that last meeting of the Planning and Zoning, he was under the impression, as was I when we were petitioning, that part behind, the 10-foot behind his home would also be abandoned, so that he could take that in as well, but that got excluded after everything was looked at. But he is going to come back and have to petition to have the 10-foot behind his home abandoned as well. And when we say abandoned, that word kind of holds a little funny meaning to me, because the city does not maintain those alleys. They are, for all intensive purposes, abandoned. They're not mowed, the trees are not cut down. We had tremendous overgrowth in the area before I purchased the home, and over time it continued. And as I found out that we would have to take care of it if we wanted to, the overgrowth got so bad that my next door neighbor, Mr. Ronnie Henderson, lost his dog to Lyme's disease. I lost my dog to Lyme's disease from ticks out of the back alley. I finally had the alleyway cleared, but to clear it and maintain it, I'd like to put a fence around it, especially since the 10-foot behind my house and Dr. McCluskey's house are not in the current utility easement, and even if it were, as you can see all through Castle Heights, where they've taken in the alleyways, the power poles and the sewer run through those backyards, all through Castle Heights. And so I don't think that that's a problem, because there is an easement, so there is access that has to be granted to those. And we would like to see it go up, because those of us that live on the back end of that alleyway, we've not had access to it for years, and now that we do, we want to fence it in, because everybody that gets arrested in Ronnie Henderson's backyard or mine. They run straight up that alleyway, escaping from Franklin Avenue and jump in our backyards. So we'd love to see that shut down. We'd like to have it fenced. Thank you very much for your time.
Sure. Next we have Mr. Lewis McReynolds.
My name is Louis McReynolds. I reside at 3725 Austin. I am here on behalf of my mother, Jean McReynolds, who has resided at 3801 Austin, which is behind the alley, since 1950. I listened to you all's discussion during the work session, and it indicated you had received my comments and had considered some of the points I raised, so I want to focus instead on some additional information. That alleyway has been there since 1890. It was platted when the city of Waco stopped at 18th Street and remained that way. It was not built out until the late 1940s, and for over 70 years it has worked. The four neighbors have maintained it. It has never been an issue until now. The neighbors have taken pride in keeping it neat and open, and in those 72 years the four houses have had one owner, two owners, four owners, and five owners. And of those, only one owner did not maintain his part, and that was until he cleared out the vegetation a year ago. You all raised discussion about Encore and Spectrum, Encore and other utilities having access. He said, oh, but the alleys in Castle Heights have been mounted. This is not actually Castle Heights. This is actually called Avenue Heights. Castle Heights came about 30 years later. Castle Heights never had alleys. There's an alley between Austin and Chateau. There's an alley between Chateau and Castle. Through the years, the utilities have had access to the main pole, which is at the back corner of my mother's lot, and have brought their trucks in routinely. They've not ever had to come in on foot, and it has certainly worked easy, and I don't know whether it's good for them or not, better them or not, but they've certainly never had a problem with getting access to it. I understand that the city likes to be out of the alley business. There are many in this town, many of which have not been well maintained, but this one has. A partial abandonment doesn't get you out of the alley business. If there's a 2-foot hole, you're just filling in 1 foot of it. There's still going to be the rest of it. You still have responsibility, still have ownership, even though the neighbors are maintaining it. Now, Mr. Shelton and Mr. Odom, who have the back 171 feet of the alley, have come to an agreement that they are in agreement with the abandonment of that portion. Beyond the corner of my mother's property, I acquiesce to that. If they have come to that agreement, that property does not affect us. But the 50 feet behind her house and behind Mr. Shelton's driveway, not his house, does affect us. And although I realize it is not a city ordinance, the city website does say that an abandonment is based upon the agreement of the neighbors. There's no agreement here. Thank you all for your consideration.
Just out of curiosity, the main reason that you're in opposition to this is utility access?
Utility access, yes, and primary access behind our house. We do use that alley to help try and maintain the trees and getting to the utility access. That is a reason. That is not certainly not the only reason.
Well, it'd be helpful to me to just comprehensively, but utilities is primary. Any other things that would be helpful for me to hear from you, other than utility access, what your interest in maintaining that?
What you're going to end up with is you're also going to have aesthetically a jumbled mess. You're going to have property lines that are going to do this number. We're going to have 50 feet of something staring in our face, where we're going to have an additional 115 feet without that. And, yes, the main thing is to be able to get back to maintain that. But my mother, like I said, has lived there 72 years. She served this city 9 years on the Planning Commission and 4 years on this council. She has been a dedicated public servant to this. Her health is very poor right now. I've had to take time away from my usual evenings of looking after her to be here. And she wants to be left alone, as do I. Beyond us, they can do whatever they want, but we want to be left alone.
Thank you. All right. Is there anyone else here that would like to speak on this item? Mr. Shelton, would you like a rebuttal?
I'm sorry if it's upsetting to Lewis's mother if we take in the 10-foot on our side of the alleyway, not the 10-foot behind his property, not the 10-foot that touches his property. We would still be 10 foot away from his property line. His mother and Mr. Odom are two of the only people in the neighborhood that do not have a fence. So I can hear that they don't want to see a fence going back up again. I understand that. But again, this is for safety. And for the 70 years that the alleyway has existed, we haven't needed to close it. But now it's an issue of crime, it's an issue of safety, it's an issue of health. And to say that I can have, that he says it's okay for me to have the land all the way up till it touches his mother's property, but I can't get that, that confuses me, because that would be a jumbled mess to cut into it. If we could take that 10 foot in all the way from one corner to the other, Dr. McCluskey wants to get his, take it from there to the driveway that's there, leave the driveway there, that they have used as access for years. And when I confronted him about why he did not support me in this, his main reason was that, they cut down the crepe myrtles, his mother's crepe myrtles every year to keep them out of the power lines. And if I'd take the power lines onto my side, he'd be glad to sign the paperwork. So, that didn't settle well with me. And the other thing is, he lives on the opposite corner from his mother, and his driveway is in the alley. He and his neighbor behind him have taken in the alley in Castle Heights. They just don't want us to take it in on our side. And I can't see that that's a valid opposition to the issues that we have. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay. We will close the public hearing, and I'll ask for a motion.
Can you clarify the motion, please? What are we voting on specifically? I'm totally confused right now.
You want to make a...
Josh is getting ready to make a motion.
Mr. Shelton's property shares an alleyway with two neighbors on the other side. And so one is Mr. Odom, and they have agreed to abandon Mr. Shelton's half of that property. The other is Ms. McReynolds, represented by her son here today, and they are not in agreement as to that. I think it might be a 10-foot portion of the small part of that alleyway that they share on Mr. Shelton's side.
50 foot.
So, I mean, I agree that agreement should be key, and so my motion would be abandon Mr. Shelton's property as half of the alley as to Mr. Shelton, as far as his property is adjacent to Mr. Odom's property. Essentially the agreed part of the alley abandoned, keeping the other half an alley, because that's what Mr. Odom wanted in the agreement. Is that fair to say, Mr. Peters?
That's correct.
If I could just clarify, is your motion that you're moving that we abandon 171 feet width at, 10 foot wide, 171 feet long, that backs up to Mr. Shelton's property and is parallel to Mr. Odom's property?
That's correct, and just half of the alley, so as not to abandon.
So it's 10 feet?
Yeah, the half on
And
Mr.
to leave
Odom's side.
Mrs. McReynolds
Alone. Back up to Mr. McReynolds.
Yeah, that's my suggestion.
Okay.
That's my motion.
Okay. I'll second that.
I'll second it.
Okay.
Motion and second. Any discussion? I'm going to vote no on this. Mr. McReynolds, I appreciate the points you've made. I know this alley. I can see it. It's just dead grass. I mean, it's growing green grass, and the idea that a fence can't be adjusted just makes no sense to me at all. I appreciate all that's been said. Utility access is preserved. The fact that a property owner is just gonna have an unusable portion of green grass and can't adjust their fence or their yard or their daily life and is gonna have to maintain that is fully illogical to me. So that it's for that reason that I'll be voting no. Motion and second, please poll the council.
Fairfield.
It's hard.
Oh. Yes.
Rodriguez.
Yes.
Borderood.
Yes.
Horner. Holmes.
Aye.
Meek.
All right, next we have public hearing 277.
Honorable Mayor, members of the council, this is a public hearing to consider an ordinance of the City of Waco, Texas, abandoning portions of right-of-way out of Flint Street, South 13th Street, in an alley described as 1.97 acre public right-of-way. Abandonment tract in the City of Waco, McLennan County, Texas, being a portion of Flint Street right-of-way, according to the map of the Coggin and Parks edition, recorded in volume 49, page 332 of the deed records in McLennan County, Texas. And the map of the S.P. Ross Homestead Edition, recorded in volume 92, page 92, of the deed records in McLennan County, Texas, also according to the unrecorded S.P. Ross subdivisions as shown on the McLennan County tax appraisers. Map page number 31, also being all of a 20-foot wide alley right-of-way line within block 105, according to the said plat of the Coggin and Parks Edition, finding no duty to maintain, authorizing the city manager to execute quitclaim deeds, providing a severability clause, and finding determined the meeting in which this ordinance is passed is open to the public as required by law. By a vote of 10-0, Plan Commission recommended approval of abandonment request based on the following findings and conditions: public use of the right-of-way, not required for proper flow of traffic or for emergency vehicle access to the area, utility access for surrounding properties not adversely impacted by the abandonment of the right-of-way, and then the condition is a 20-foot sanitary sewer line easement shall be retained where facilities cross Flint Street right-of-way.
Are there any questions for staff?
No questions, but I did talk to Bradley Ford about this, because you know it's going right through, so I thought, okay, what are we trying to do? I found out that this is just a cleanup for us, and to be able to plat it all in one instead of having a street that was never made or brought up, get it out of the way. Because you know, I saw my baseball fields, I said, oh no, we're not hurting my baseball fields. So we're not hurting them. We're in fact gonna help them. So, just a cleanup effort. So I will be voting yes.
Making sure a street never goes through the baseball.
Making sure that the street, oh gosh, you talk about protest.
All right, any other questions for staff? We will open up a public hearing for comments. Is there anyone here to speak on this item? If not, we'll close the public hearing. I'll ask for a motion.
Move for approval?
Second.
Any discussion? Please poll the council.
Fairfield. Rodriguez.
Yes.
Yes.
Aye.
Meek.
Yes, that motion carries. We'll move to public hearing 2023-278.
We thank you. Our baseball fields, thank you.
Members of the council, this is a public hearing to consider an ordinance of the City of Waco, Texas, abandoning a portion of right-of-way out of the Cleveland Avenue, described as a 50-foot right-of-way, 0.384 acre Cleveland Avenue right-of-way abandonment tract, being out of the S.P. Ross Homestead subdivision according to the map thereof, recorded in volume 92, page 92 of the deed records in McLennan County, Texas, finding no duty to maintain, authorizing the city manager to execute quitclaim deeds, providing the severability clause, and finding determined the meeting which is this ordinance is passed is open to the public required by law. By a vote of 10-0, Plan Commission recommended approval of abandonment based on the following findings and conditions. One, that the public use of the right-of-way is not required for proper flow of traffic or for emergency vehicle access to the area. Two, the utility access for surrounding properties not adversely impacted by the abandonment in the right-of-way. And the two conditions are a 20-foot water line easement shall be retained where facilities lie on Cleveland Avenue, and then a 20-foot general utility easement shall be retained along Cleveland Avenue.
WISD is one of the applicants, Bradley? So they're okay with the abandonment of this?
Yes,
Yeah,
that's correct.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, the parking lot is on the opposite side from the school, so it will consolidate their campus.
Okay. Another question. I should have asked this earlier, but I'm always out there. So would this hopefully keep people from using that way to get into the fields? Yes or no, you think? You know, because a lot of folks use that driveway and then jump over the fence, which is dangerous in its own way, to get into the fields, Cotton Palace Park. So I'm just wondering, is this going to help that?
This will allow WISD to better maintain access to the property. Specifically, I don't know about the impact on the park, but they will be able to enforce who enters that property along that area, become part of their campus.
They have a gate and a lock there, right, Jonathan?
Yes, there is a gate right now, and it remains open throughout the day, but like Clint said, it will give them better ability to maintain. And I'll add, in the redesign, you'll have more parking areas for park vendors.
I just don't want people to use that entrance to jump over a 8-foot fence, which they do now, to get into the park, which is dangerous for them and for park use. That's all I'm worried about.
Well, I'll connect with the school and also with our park rangers and make sure we're monitoring that gateway because we don't want it dangerous and it's an awkward entrance to the park, and that parking is something we're addressing in that master plan project.
Okay, thank you.
Are there any other questions for staff? We will open a public hearing for comments. Is there anyone here to speak on this item? If not, we'll close the public hearing. I'll ask for a motion.
Move for approval.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Please poll the council.
Bearfield?
Yes.
Rodriguez? Borderood?
Yes.
Horner? Holmes?
Aye.
Meek?
Yes, that motion carries. We'll move to public hearing 279.
Honorable Mayor, members of the council, this is a public hearing to consider an ordinance of the city of Waco, Texas, abandoning a 20-foot utility easement located on property known as 10033 Parker Springs Drive, described as 0.163 acre tract of land out of the James Lane Survey Abstract number 531, situated in the city of Waco, McLennan County, Texas, and being a portion of a called 73.192 acre tract of land conveyed to Swanson Finley Limited by deed of record and document number 2003-04-2917 of the deed record of McLennan County, Texas, and being all of the called 20-foot utility easement of record and document number 2000-04-2277 of said deed records, finding no duty to maintain, authorizing the city manager to execute quickly deeds, writing severally clause, and then finding determined the meeting which is ordinance is passed is open to the public as required by law. By a vote 10-0, Plan Commission recommended approval of the abandonment request based on the following finding and condition. The utility access for surrounding properties not adversely impacted by the abandonment of the easement, and that existing AT&T facilities must be relocated at developer's expense.
Is there anyone here, any questions for staff? If not, we'll open a public hearing for comments. Is there anyone here who would like to speak on this item? If not, we'll close the public hearing and I'll ask for a motion.
Move for approval on first reading.
Second.
A second. Please poll the council.
Bearfield?
Yes.
Rodriguez?
Aye.
Borderood? Yes. Horner? Holmes?
Aye.
Meek?
Yes, that motion carries. We'll move to public hearing 280.
Honorable Mayor, members of the council, this is a public hearing to consider an ordinance of the city of Waco, Texas, creating a plan unit development, approving the concept plan for the plan unit development, changing the zoning classification from C3 and M2 to plan unit development on certain properties described as Lot 2, Block B, the Riverside Addition, and Lot 13 and Tract B, Block 1 in the Riverside Addition, known as 500 North Jack Colgan Expressway and 502 South Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard, repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith, providing for penalties, providing a saving clause, and providing servability, and finding and determine that the meeting in which this ordinance is passed is open to the public as required by law. By a vote of 8-2, Plan Commission recommended approval of the request to change the zoning from C3 and M2 to PUD based on the following findings and subject to the following conditions. Finding is the proposed PUD is consistent with the land use component of the comprehensive plan, the purposes of Chapter 28 zoning of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Waco, Texas, and the Plan Unit Development Regulations. 2, the proposed PUD is keeping with the purpose and intent of the PUD ordinance by providing a high level of urban amenities and design standards while allowing flexibility in the use and development of the land. And 3, proposed PUD is more compatible with the surrounding area than the existing C3 and M2 zoning in the following matters. The proposed PUD provides enhanced areas for green space, public spaces, urban scale, residential facilities, increased density, community amenities, and design standards that are not required in the existing C3 and M2 zoning. We do have several conditions. The first one, the final PUD plan must meet all development standards consistent with the concept PUD plan and site requirements of the Plan Review Committee, including but not limited to the following: site grading and drainage, floodplain, signage, regulations, parking, site coverage, access and circulation, landscaping, refuse location and access, fire protection location and access, and the Brazos River Corridor overlay. 2, a traffic impact analysis shall be required to evaluate the needs for traffic infrastructure improvements. The TIA shall be submitted with the final PUD plan and/or plat application. 3, the sanitary sewer study and water study shall be required. Study shall be submitted with the final PUD plan and/or plat application. 4, a drainage study shall be required. Study shall be submitted with final PUD plan or plat application. 5, a conditional floodplain development permit shall be required. A request for a letter of map revision must be submitted to FEMA. Permit and letter shall be submitted with final PUD plan and/or plat application. 6, the property shall be platted in accordance with the subdivision ordinance prior to issuance of any building permits. 7, due to the proposed density being over 40 units an acre, a minimum of 10%, approximately 30 total units, shall be set aside for a mix of affordable housing and/or workforce housing. Affordable housing is defined as 80% or below of average median income. Workforce housing is defined as 120% or below of average median income. This can be a combination of 1-bedroom and 2-bedroom units. Coordination shall take place between the developer and the Department of Housing and Community Development to finalize details of the affordable housing and workforce housing component of the development. And then finally, 8, development shall not be gated in a way that prevents access to the public areas of the development.
Are there any questions for staff? We'll open a public hearing for comments. The first card I have is John Hamilton. Good evening.
Good evening. Thank y'all for allowing us the opportunity to discuss this project with y'all. My name is John Hamilton. I'm with RLG Consulting Engineers. I'm the civil engineer on the project, and I'm representing the developer as well. I know there's been some discussion. I was here for the work session, so I'm going to try to keep this brief and to the overview. But we did have some neighborhood engagement. We've met with Nirna twice. We've also had an open house, and I appreciate Councilwoman Bearfield for being there. That was very nice. The big two, we had decent turnouts there as well to get some good feedback. The two main themes that we got back had to do with inclusion and had to do with affordable housing. So the first one being the affordable housing, I'll touch on that a little bit here. While affordable housing isn't the primary concept of this development, we do understand that Waco is currently underserved, and the local community in East Waco as well, also being underserved. And so, as Clint mentioned, we have agreed to a 10% minimum, and I want to stress minimum, affordable housing. We will be having discussions upcoming in the coming weeks with the housing director to potentially, work on what that program looks like, because there's all different kinds of affordable housing programs that you can do on different sites. So we're going to get more into that later on in the following weeks. The inclusion aspect, and that was the piece at the end there for the condition of the gate. We want to stress this is 100% supposed to be public, is supposed to be welcome here. It's one of the critical aspects for this to be a successful development. We have retail on the bottom floor. We want to create a welcomed environment where everyone is welcome, all of Waco, local community, and any tourists as well. In addition to that, we have what we're calling a green spine. It's an enhanced landscape, and the main focus of it is to welcome all pedestrian activity. So we really want to stress that aspect of it, that is critical to this development. Now, in order to do that, we're asking for that height of 30 stories in order to increase the density to allow this development to work out. So that is the main ask in this PUD. There's also some other aspects to it, but the main one that, kind of the biggest one that sticks out is the 30-story height. And as Clint mentioned with the land use, I'm not going to go into that too much, but this is, the land use that we're looking to do here is in line with the surrounding community. So thank you all for your time, and I'm here to answer any questions as well.
Any questions?
Go ahead.
No, I don't have anything.
So, to be clear, the 30 stories is the deal breaker here?
The 30 stories is for the tower. So
I get what it is for, but this is a preliminary PUD, so this is where, in essence, negotiations kind of begin, because as a planned unit development, this is where we get to, or it opens up opportunity for design, and isn't that correct?
Clint, you want to take that?
Yes, that's correct. So what you're hearing tonight would approve the general concept of the plan. It does, in the plan, it does allow up to a 30-story building. When they submit their final PUD plan, we'll be able to work on design of it, but it would allow, with a final PUD plan, it would allow up to that height.
Okay, thank you. Can you also, I'm sorry, Clint, my bad. I didn't see you were moving, sir. Just so we're clear in understanding what all of these things are doing right now, and feel free to answer the questions as well. The proposed PUD has a final PUD that has to be voted on. It'll go back, once the final PUD is submitted, it will go back through the development processes, including Plan Commission, and then come back to us.
Correct.
With my understanding and clarity, this can set requirements in both design and affordability, and I appreciate you making clarifications that it is the minimum standard of 10% affordability in this opportunity. And, I'm saying that this kind of really begins the real conversations and will allow further discussion of how this development could enhance this community. Am I pretty clear?
That's correct.
Okay.
And go ahead.
No.
If, just as to follow up on that, if this council doesn't like the final PUD, we'll have full authority to vote no on that PUD.
Correct. It would need to be based on findings that it's not consistent with the concept PUD.
Okay.
So if there's things in the concept that you do not like, for example, the height, that needs to be addressed tonight.
I have some. I understand that, and I'm almost at a crossroads here, because with the full understanding that there's nothing that tall here, it is concerning. It's jarring at first. I do know that the growth and development of this community is happening, and change is happening. However, it is our responsibility and good stewards of our constituents to manage said change, so that it is growth and not necessarily hemorrhaging. We've seen where communities have been, overgrown too quickly in a manner that it completely obliterates its community's idea and its makeup. So that's what we're trying to avoid, I believe. I think, I'm almost positive there is a way that we could get to a consensus. And I don't use the word compromise because I don't expect anybody to walk away feeling like they gave up something. So, I mean, I have concerns about 30 stories. I mean, I think that retail space on the bottom is absolutely necessary in our community. I mean, I think that there's some tremendous opportunities in this space. I mean, with blank retail walls, I mean, anything could happen. I looked at all the approved things, and, if it is a retail space, that means that I can sell stuff, including groceries. That's right. So there's opportunity here. However, we got to make sure that we don't just abandon, the essence of the community that you are desiring to enter. That's my main concern. I know we can, I fully believe we can get to some understanding. And I know that preliminary PUDs are but the opening door. However, if the only way we cannot approve it is if it goes against the preliminary and we allow all these things in the preliminary, that's problematic. So how
about I ask a question? Clint, is there a vehicle where we could have flexibility on, in the preliminary PUD and have a height from a certain story to up to 30 feet?
That's what it says now, I think, right?
Yeah, so it's got a max density.
We just have to land, I mean, what I'm hearing you say is we have to land tonight on if we want a 30-story tower there.
I believe, because it's got max density of 75 units an acre included in there, and then it's got max heights in there. If they came back and said, 30-story doesn't work and we want to make 8-story buildings instead of a 30-story and 6-story, that would be consistent with the concept. But if they come back in with a final PUD plan and the concept approves a 30-story and they meet that height, for that component of it, I think it would be hard to turn down a final PUD plan. Now, the looks of it and all those different things, those aspects, the architectural components, those things can still be worked out in the final plan, but what we're approving is kind of the land use, the allowable uses, and some of the general site development requirements.
Thank you, Clint. I have one more question for Mr. Hamilton while you're still testimony. Are you, is your organization planning to come for economic development incentives to the?
I don't know the level, but I do know that there is open dialogue.
So that'll be another opportunity for the city to engage in discussions on things, including height, potentially.
And I believe so too. I think that just in the conversations that I've had, I believe they want to be here, but I think that, we want to make sure let me speak for me. I want to make sure that, we are getting we the community, we the people who will be engaging in this really have an opportunity to, get involved and participate, just like in the beginning conversations. I know it was difficult because a lot of questions were not able to be answered just because we're in concept and that information is not there. So I appreciate you saying that. How much is it going to cost? We don't know. And I mean, that's really the only answer, but I want to make sure that we're able to come back to the community with more than just beautiful pictures. Yeah. I think that the usage of it is in line with where we're going. I think that the opportunity is there. However, I'm very careful and very particular about how we work this out.
If I can add one aspect of it, one thing that was brought up was, the size of the units and how that plays into the affordability aspect. Specifically, one thing that I personally hadn't considered previously was the size of the retail units. And being able to have smaller retail units might allow local startups and smaller businesses the opportunity to come in. And I did have a conversation with our architects, OTJ, on that. And there is, you know, depending on the tenant, there is availability for it to be a small and large. So it's not set into those sizes as far as the retail is concerned.
Thanks, sir. Next, we
Clint.
have Jeanette Bell.
Good evening, Jeanette Bell, Northeast Riverside Neighborhood Association. The Northeast Riverside Neighborhood Association has researched the City of Waco 2040 Comprehensive Plan, the City of Waco Consolidated Plan, Land Use Plans, and categories, City of Waco Strategic Housing Plan, 2002 Elm Avenue Bridge Street Plan, 2010 Imagine Waco Plan, Upjohn Research Study, and the various market types, and the conclusion remains. We need an adequate stock of affordable housing, not luxurious, high-rise, 30-story condos within our low to moderate income community. The United States Census and American Community Survey reports our median household income in 76704 is less than $20,000. A planned unit development, PUD, is a residential community with convenient access to private, high-end amenities for high-income residents. History shows that PUDs are created as a means to improve blighted areas, but fail to do so. The City of Waco must address the housing insecurity and instability by adopting inclusionary zoning, by abandoning segregated exclusionary zoning, and by the development of mixed-income communities, and by recognizing the public's vulnerabilities within the sustainability planning. Now, we were informed that by right means developers have the legal and moral right to build whatever they please on their property. By right shouldn't mean social, historic, cultural displacement, relocation, racial steering, urban sprawl, benign neglect, or gerrymandering. By right development can and do create heat islands within urban and city centers. By right should reduce our legitimacy as vested residents, property, and small business owners. By right shouldn't create environmental, procedural, and distributive injustices. By right development will destroy the public's trust in the Waco-McLennan County governing, zoning, planning, and development process.
Thank you. Is there anyone else here to speak on this item? Mr. Hamilton, do you have anything else that you'd like to conclude with?
I think really the only thing that I have to say in this regard is, you know, right now this is 6 acres. It's not currently zoned for residential. It's currently zoned C2 and M2, I believe, C3 and M2. And it's 6 acres. You take a fifth of an acre lot, you're getting 30 lots for residential. What we have with the 10% here with affordable housing is a minimum of 30 units for affordable housing. So we're trying our best to offset the affordability aspect, and it's currently not even able to be single-family houses right now. So that was all I have to add right now. Thank you.
We'll close the public hearing, and I'll ask for a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we table this item for further discussion. I don't feel comfortable with where we are on it. Specifically, the part that if we get down the road and the only way we can cancel it is if something is awry from what the proposal was. And so I'm not clear with exactly what that is, and I'm concerned about that 30-story building also, particularly if, I mean, it feels like we're into this deal and may not be able to turn that around, so move we table.
If it were to the desire of the council to consider this at a later date and not consider it tonight, y'all would need to reopen the public hearing and continue this hearing until a date certain, so you'd have to pick a date in the future to consider it. Otherwise, if you don't vote, there is no table for public hearings on a zoning, it would just be a denial, and then there would be all those rules about when you can come back.
So what I'll do is, in case there's a second, I will reopen the public hearing, and I'll ask for David to make that motion, that we continue it to a date certain, which could be May 2nd.
Yeah, so Mr. Horner, you'd have to pick a future council date to continue it to. It could be May 2nd, it could be, a meeting in June, it could be whatever y'all so choose. At some point, it becomes too long, but you could pick any date in the next, 2 to 3 months and be fine.
Any scheduled council meeting date?
Yes, thank you for the clarification.
Do you have a motion?
Well,
I guess Councilmember
table
Horner.
it until May 2nd, is that?
So we've reopened the public hearing and asked to continue the public hearing. The motion that I'm hearing from Councilmember Horner is continuing the public hearing until May 2nd. So we have a motion for that. Is there a second? Okay, I don't hear a second, so I'm going to let that die, and then we will reclose the public hearing, and I'll ask for another motion. I will move for approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion?
So let me be clear, because I think I heard something and I want to make sure that I'm understanding, Bradley, this question is for you. So the PUD is saying that the height requirement is in there. However, they did mention that perhaps they will need some economic development. So I think that there are still ways to negotiate this height or this level of stories. Am I kind of right in that?
Yeah, I think certainly between tonight and the final PUD, it sounds like we're going to have economic development conversations, and height of buildings, size of units, affordable units, all those metrics or performance measures that can be incorporated into an economic development agreement. I suppose the risk that I could not eliminate, and I think it's small, but I'll just say it, is if they were able to develop the project without economic development incentives, they could build up to a 30-story tower. But I think given the intensity of this development, it's going to require some, whether it be TIF support or some other economic development tool support to make it work.
An incredible high likelihood of that, although not absolute. It's not absolute, but there's a high likelihood. Yeah, I think that, and Councilmember Horner, I definitely respect the idea of wanting to really make sure we know what we're getting into here, but I tend to agree that there is a high likelihood of economic development incentives. I also have heard this developer wants to be a good community member, and if, as we move forward in this project and examine this, the height of 30 stories doesn't make sense, or the community rallies around it and it does make sense, then we can do that if that's what the community gets comfortable with. And if it doesn't, from a visual perspective or a sightline perspective or a...
I mean, because I think we've had, like I said, I wouldn't have made the comment if I didn't believe that the scale is important here, and we're going to have to figure it out. I don't think this tonight stops that.
Yeah, that's right.
And I don't know, and I'm not comfortable with what we know about that right now, and that's why I'm going to have to vote no.
Any other discussion?
I think that these are all Councilmember Horner's, Councilmember Barefield's concerns are all legit, but I think my assurance in this is not only the incentives for future negotiation over the specifics on this, but also where we are in the stage, as has been mentioned by several of us, which is the preliminary PUD and not the final. And so I'm confident that our city staff and our policymakers up here will be able to influence the prioritization and the specifics of this project, but I understand the concerns for sure.
And I certainly would say that, in Ms. Bell's comment, that the trust of your leadership should never be questioned, because we're not doing this in a monolith. We can't do that way. We have to do it in consideration of the people who live and work in the communities that we build. And so that is on us. And that's something that I know I can speak for myself, I guarantee will happen.
Any other discussion? Please poll the council.
Barefield?
Yes.
Rodriguez?
Yes.
Horner?
No.
Aye.
Meek?
Yes, that motion carries, and we'll move to public hearing 2023-282. Sorry, 281.
Members of the council, this is a public hearing to consider an ordinance of the city of Waco, Texas, creating a planning and development, approving the concept plan for the planning and development, changing the zoning classification from R1B and O2 to planning and development on certain property described as approximately 40.5 acres of land in the Thomas de la Vega survey, abstract number 43, City of Waco, McLean County, Texas, being a part of the called Track 6 and Track 3, being all of Track 5 and Track 4, describing a deed to specific operating company, recorded in volume 1614, page 542 of the deed records in McLean County, Texas, property ID 180691, known as 2001 North Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard, repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith, providing for penalties, providing a savings clause, providing a severability clause, and finally determining the meeting which is ordinance is passed is open to the public as required by law. By a vote of 9-0 or 9-1, Plan Commission recommended approval of the request to change the zoning based on the following findings and conditions. Findings of proposed PUD is consistent with the land use component of the comprehensive plan, the purposes of Chapter 28 zoning of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Waco, Texas, and the planning and development regulations. 2, the proposed PUD is keeping with the purposes and intent of the PUD ordinance by providing a high-level urban amenities and design standards which allow flexibility in the use and development of the land. Examples include a variety of housing types, increased usable public open space, and neighborhood amenities, enhanced pedestrian facilities, and architectural controls. And 3, the proposed PUD density of approximately 6 units of an acre is more compatible with surrounding neighborhood than the existing zoning, which has a maximum density of approximately 10 units an acre. The conditions include the final PUD plan must meet all development standards consistent with the concept PUD plan and site requirements of the Plan Review Committee, including but not limited to the following: site grading and drainage, floodplain signage, regulations, parking, site coverage, access and circulation, landscaping, refuse location and access, fire protection location and access, and the Brazos River corridor overlay with the exception of lot coverage for townhouse lots. 2, the traffic impact analysis shall be required to evaluate the need for traffic infrastructure improvements. CIA shall be submitted with final PUD plan or plat application. Development will include widening a section of Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard to accommodate a right turn bay at the proposed entrance. 4, a drainage study shall be required. Study shall be submitted with the final PUD plan and a plat application. 5, the property shall be platted in accordance with the subdivision ordinance prior to issuance of building permits. 6, due to proposed exceptions to minimum lot size and building setback requirements, a minimum of 10%, approximately 24 units shall be set aside for a mix of affordable housing and or workforce housing. Affordable housing is defined at 80% or below average median income. Workforce housing is defined as 120% or below average median income. Coordination shall take place between developer and the Department of Housing and Community Development to finalize details of the affordable housing and a workforce housing component of the development. And 7, trail system that runs along Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard, Herring Avenue, and Dallas Street shall be publicly accessible.
All right. Are there any questions for staff? I'll open up a public hearing for comments. Is there anyone here to speak on this item?
My name is Taylor Allen. I reside at 400 Garland Avenue. I represent North Paw Partners. They're the folks putting this together. And just wanted to make a quick introduction and tell you a little bit more about the project. Like Clint said, it's a 241 unit planned development on 40 acres. We've hired McCann Adams Studio out of Austin, Texas to design the site. And we've intentionally created a walkable, thoughtfully designed neighborhood with varying lot sizes to provide middle market housing in the core of our city. We envision a high quality neighborhood that will last generations, and this community will be connected to some of our strongest assets: downtown Waco, Cameron Park, East Waco, Baylor University. Our hope is that a varying degree of household sizes, ages, and income levels will call this neighborhood a home. Our site plan has 155 detached single-family residences and 86 attached townhomes. 90% of the homes will be rear-loaded via alley access to allow for multi-dimensional front elevations. And we will enforce design standards that ensure architectural and structural quality. These include base elevation of 18 inches from the street, porch requirements, masonry requirements, and window requirements. We believe that this concept meets the Imagine Waco plan, directly addresses many of the concerns and strategies outlined in the housing study performed by M&L Associates and presented to the City Council last year. These strategies include activating vacant property in the core of our city, high-density neighborhoods, middle-market housing solutions, and economically integrated neighborhoods. Again, our hope is to build a quality neighborhood that will last generations. I'm available to answer any questions.
Any questions?
Did you have something, Councilmember Rodriguez?
No.
I thought I heard you say something.
No, I was reading out loud.
Thank you, Mr. Allen. So two things that I want to make sure I'm clear on. You said to bring middle market housing into the core of the community. Tell me what that means to you.
To me, that means that we're not doing luxury housing. We're not doing million-dollar mansions. We aren't doing cheap housing or poorly built housing. We're building housing that's for middle-income earners that will be, broadly affordable by, people that make median income at or below.
So the designs that we've seen on this project were similar, and I believe done by the same company that did Floyd Casey. And so that was an example of how we, words used, economically integrate communities. And I think that just like Floyd Casey in South Waco, that there are amazing options in District 1 for that same type of development. However, we still got questions. We want to make sure that well, I guess the question would be, will you be reaching out to the city for any economic development incentives? Because I think that that will be the catalyst of how we manage affordability in 76704.
Yes.
Yes, you will be reaching out to the city for any,
yes.
Okay. Okay. I think that we looking out in that area, and I've had lots of people. I know you met with Carver Neighborhood Association, and I think you will be back when you have better details to offer the Carver Neighborhood Association regarding numbers and that kind of thing. But this approval today would be just to get the ball rolling. Is that correct?
Yeah, just a general understanding of the density, the general layouts, broad city council support for this.
The support and layout, I mean, technically we've approved it once because we approved Floyd Casey. And the same theory would be beneficial in multiple neighborhoods, north, south, east, and west Waco. I think that there will be, as I mentioned with the PUD before, there is a foundational alignment that we want to have with communities that we enter in, and that we want to continue to do things with and not to our communities. And so as long as you believe that you're in line with that, then I have no reason to not go forward with this. But again, the rubber will meet the road in economic development.
Any other questions for Mr. Allen? Thanks, sir. Is there anyone else here to speak on this item? If not, I'll close the public hearing and I'll ask for a motion.
I'll move for second.
A motion and a second. Any discussion? Please poll the council.
Field,
Yeah.
Rodriguez,
Aye.
Borderood,
Yes.
Horner, Holmes,
Aye.
Meek.
Yes. Carries, and we'll move to public hearing 2023-282.
Honorable members of the council, this is a public hearing to consider an ordinance of the city of Waco, Texas, providing that the comprehensive plan be amended to change the land use designation from suburban residential to industrial on property described as approximately 2.31 acres, more or less described as being all of that tract of land in McLennan County, Texas, out of the Thomas De La Grant 8.43 and being part of the called 5.3252 acre described in a deed to DJ Services LLC, a series LLC series 2172 East Loop 340, as recorded under clerk's file number 2016-021532 of the official public records of McLennan County, Texas, property ID 124208, known as 2172 East Loop 340, providing that the Code of Ordinance be amended by revising section 28-247 of chapter 28 zoning of the code, providing that the zoning map shall be changed so that certain property described above shall be changed from R1B to M2 district classification, providing for penalties, providing a settings clause, providing a severability clause, and finding the term and committee which this ordinance is passed is open to the public as required by law. By a vote of 7-3, Plan Commission recommended approval of the change based on the following findings. Land use change is the proposed industrial land use is consistent with adjacent use outside the city limits, and 2, the property is located along a major arterial road, which is Loop 340. And then the zoning change of the proposed zoning is keeping with the land use component of the comprehensive plan as revised. The property is located along a major arterial road, Loop 340. The property meets all size and width requirements for M2 zoning, and the property is adjacent to an industrially used outside city limits.
Are there any questions for staff? We will open up a public hearing for comments. I do have one card, and that is Noah Starr.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and the council. Thank you for taking up this issue. I'm the owner of the property. This site has been serving the community since 2017, and as this gentleman mentioned, half of our site is outside of city limits with an existing full self-storage facility. And this front parcel is technically within city limits, but zoned in this residential capacity. Like this gentleman mentioned, it is adjacent to a major road and is right in front of our existing self-storage facility. So we would like to rezone this front parcel so that in the future, if we wish, we'd want to expand with additional uses. I'm here to answer any questions that you guys may have.
Are there any questions? All right. Thank you, sir. Is there anyone else here to speak on this item? We will close the public hearing and I'll ask for a motion.
Move for approval. First reading.
Second. A motion and a second. Any discussion?
Yes. Staff recommended this approval. I'd like to know a little bit more of the disapproval, since this is under the discussion. That's what I was reading a while ago. I wasn't asking questions of the previous. Clint, somebody.
Yes, ma'am. Staff did recommend disapproval based on the land use plan calls for that to be residential. Comprehensive plan does call for that area to be residential. And there were concerns about some infrastructure from traffic and then from a utility standpoint.
I was looking at that where it said, did I read it? I've been reading it. Anyway, that we're trying to go from residential to industrial. And where are the homes around there, Clint? Do we know?
Yes, ma'am, there is a home just to the north of the property on that side of 340. It's actually a couple properties over, and then, but most of the residential is inside the loop, closer to town that you see on the map. So there is not any right adjacent to the property.
Yes, this neighborhood, Clint, it's rural in character and it's on the city limit edge, but it's zoned for residential and it's surrounded by residential. And then across Loop 340, you start to see like kind of subdivisions those are within the city. That side's within the city,
That's
right?
correct, yeah.
Okay.
And this is on the other side of Loop 340, with half of its property already zoned.
Yeah. The other half, the half that's out in the county essentially is the storage unit.
Yeah, there's no zoning on that part of the property.
But it's still half of their property. I get it.
Did they recently acquire, was that acquired recently? I don't know if the public hearing's open for him to.
Well, we've closed the public hearing already, so we can reopen the public hearing, and you can come and respond to that if you'd like to. We've reopened it. You can come speak.
That's simple. Thank you. This was built in 2017. Part of the confusion is half of our property is technically outside of city limits with no zoning, and this front piece closer to Loop 340 is technically within the city limits, zone residential, so we just wanted to make it one conjoined self-storage property for future use.
And were both sides of this property purchased in one transaction?
I think they were two separate transactions. We purchased it in one transaction.
Okay.
Thanks, sir. We'll close the public hearing, and there's a motion and a second, and we're engaging in discussion. I tend to go with staff on this, and part of that's for the reasons that Clint cited, and part of that's because I think that I really want us, and I know this is not the solution to that, this does not even provide a solution to that, but I think it's really important that as these suburban areas of the city begin to develop, there's a real thoughtfulness to the land planning and a real commitment to that, which is what Clint cited to, because otherwise you do kind of have this hodgepodge of strip malls and storage units that pop up that's inconsistent with the land use plan, and someday this is going to be an older part of the city. It's not going to be new anymore, and I want there to be a thoughtfulness to what we're doing to protect value, and in my mind, adhering to a land use plan and listening to staff's recommendation is one way to do that.
And so for clarity, the motion was for approval of staff's disapproval.
Oh, I thought it was I understood the motion was in favor of.
So who made the motion?
I did.
Did you move to disapprove?
Well, I thought it was approval of the disapproval. So my bad, so move to disapprove. Is that better?
I thought the motion was to approve.
Why don't we withdraw that and you can clarify?
We'll withdraw that motion. Motion to disapprove.
I'll second that. Oh, who seconded?
Sorry.
Do I have to wait for you to?
Holmes seconded.
I withdrew my second, so that's fine.
All right.
Okay, so
We had a withdrawal, a clarifying motion, and a second. So we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Great. It's also been a long night. Please poll the council.
Bearfield.
Disapprove, yes.
Rodriguez.
Yes.
Wateroo. Horner.
Aye.
Meek.
Yes, that motion carries. Next, we'll have the consent agenda. The consent agenda includes resolutions 2023-283 through 303. I do want to note that there have been some long and faithful people who have been here waiting for us to vote on this consent agenda tonight. We have members of both the rowing and the zoo that are here. Thank you for both of your respective dear partnerships. We're so thankful for you guys sticking it out. Never a dull moment here, so we should have passed out popcorn. But really are thankful, excited to see you here. thankful for our partnerships and look forward to move forward with you in voting on these matters in our consent agenda. Is there a motion?
Move for approval?
Second.
Please poll the council.
Bearfield.
Yes.
Rodriguez.
Aye.
Borderood.
Yes.
Horner. Holmes. Meek.
Yes, that motion carries. Next, we'll go to the hearing of visitors. During the hearing of visitors section of the agenda, we provide an opportunity for the public to present concerns or address issues that are not matters of consideration listed on the agenda. Council is unable to conduct discussion, but will listen, ask staff to look into concerns, and provide a follow-up. Please provide registration information so that staff can contact you if necessary. If you have handouts, please let us know at the beginning of your presentation. Staff will distribute those to council. If you're unable to approach the podium due to physical limitations, a microphone is available to be brought to you. Is there anyone present who would like to speak during the hearing of visitors? And the first card I have is Patricia Meadows. Ms. Meadows here? How about Ms. Egots? Next we have Clint Hood. Is Mr. Hood here? It was a long meeting and they must have left. Last we have Mr. Herring. All right, Ephraim.
My name is Mary, I live at 1044 Chestnut. I have some major concerns about the article that was written in the Waco Tribune hearing on April 8th concerning the tax for road fees. My concern is in the next 20 years, we've got a lot of people in the baby boomer who have a fixed income. So you're looking at, you're saying anywhere from $8 to $10. Well, if you're a baby boomer and you got a fixed income, that's an extra $120 a year that you got to come out of your pocket with. The reason why I'm saying it is I'm one of them baby boomers who's going to be coming up here. Next thing came up, is I see that extra $10 going to my water bill. Now we get right now, get ready to move in 2025. We're getting ready to have our trash going to Axel. So I can see an increase in my trash fees. Also, I can see an increase in my property tax. It's been going up every year. So now as a baby boomer, I'm paying more money in my taxes. So I'm kind of confused why y'all trying to get a fee on road conditions when that's supposed to be a part of my city taxes. I didn't take the tax abatement. I paid my tax abatement because I knew about money coming out. Increasing city taxes. So y'all increased my city tax. So I'm still trying to figure out why am I putting out a special tax, paying twice for roads. Then I go look at the tip fund y'all been giving out from ever since 2015. Tax incentive funds coming out of coffers for roads. The reason why that's big to me is because I go down to MLK and I see this hotel, been there for almost going on 4 years, that promised who promised in District 1 that that hotel is going to bring jobs and income to the city. It still ain't complete. There's 2 of them there. It still ain't complete. So that's money that's taken out of coffers to do the roads and do the sewers and do the lines for that area. It's not returning the money back to the coffers. So now y'all taking money out of my pocket to pay for the roads, and what y'all gave out earlier for that hotel. The other thing I'm looking at is the legislature already said we're paying high taxes. So now the money that the legislature is going to give us a break on now is coming out of my pocket now going to the city for roads that I done paid for already. So I'm trying to figure out why we're paying this road tax. And the one thing that really got my crawl, even today, is you're getting ready to build that hotel in that area that condos. So now it's going to be on my water bill. So if you're building condos and the water bill is taken by the corporation, you already got an extra 250 people coming that ain't paying for using the roads that we're paying to use to repair. So my question is simple. You got baby boomers that don't use the road because they're using public transportation. What cut are we going to get? I read the article. There's nothing in there saying that they're going to get a break. God bless you and be careful.
Thank you, sir. Is there anyone else here who would like to speak at the hearing of visitors? If not, then we'll close the hearing of visitors. Are there any announcements council members would like to make? If not,
not,
Mayor, I have a quick one. I just want to encourage the public to turn out for the Suspension Bridge grand reopening. It's been in continuous operation with this brief pause since, 1870? And we've got a full night for Brazos Nights, I think headlined by Western swing artists, Asleep at the Wheel, legendary artist there.
Ray Benson and Sleep at the Wheel.
What?
Ray Benson and Sleep at the
Oh
Wheel.
yeah, man, they're awesome. And I know they've done it before at Brazos Nights, and I'm sure they'll rock it out again. And looks to be a nice evening out there. And then we've got a ribbon cutting the next morning at 11, and we're also going to have maybe. I think Councilmember Horner's not going to be able to lead the herd of cattle across the suspension bridge, but he would probably be the best suited for that. But we've got some cattle coming across. We've got a ribbon cutting, so we've got 2 days of suspension bridge activities I'm looking forward to. Come join us.
Great announcement. Any other announcements? Not, are there any council member reports on committees, boards, commission, and liaison visits? If not, then there being no further business, we'll adjourn at 7:43 p.m. Thanks, everybody.